Mic check. 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Music is good too. Fantastic. I was thinking it might even be a little too loud, so if you think it's all right, I'll leave it. How you doing today, my friend? Hope you're well. Hope you had an amazing weekend. And I appreciate your vigilance in the Discord. It was good. I kind of unplugged yesterday for a bit and just relaxed. But yeah, I'm doing good. Thank you for asking. Weather getting cooler? No, oh, it's getting hotter, my friend. It's only going to get hotter here. We're getting into the peak summer months. Yesterday I went outside and did some work on the garden space with the missus. The greenhouse unzips, right? And she opens it during the day before it gets like too direct overhead sunlight, right? And sometimes if the wind blows, it'll just blow it right back up over and into the garden and kind of flap around on the stuff inside. So she wanted me to come up with some sort of solution to help, I guess, tie down the open flap when it's not, when she opens it. So I 3D printed some clips for like a tarp that like clamp onto it and tension. And I printed 6 of those, and then I grabbed some paracord and we cut it into lengths, and I drilled some holes in the frame of the like the legs of the garden beds, and I ran some hooks and some metal hooks into it, and we basically made some little spots that she can just tie it down on the back side. Oh, no worries, no worries. Hey, Sophie, I hope you had a great stream. It was nice to drop in and say hello. How are you doing today? We're just getting started, so thank you, Raiders. Welcome, welcome. How did your gingerbread house turn out? But yeah, I got the clips, 2 attached, 1 on each end of the like flap for the greenhouse, and then attached some, paracord and then the hooks, so you can just pull it over, and I tied some like slip knots in them, some 2 half hitches, and hooked them up. Anyway, so now it's like really easy to like hook it up on some hooks on the backside if she's going to leave it open for a few hours, but there's a light breeze. Hey, yeah, I kind of figured you were doing a Hansel and Gretel tribute or kind of something inspired by it. Anytime I can drop by streams, I do. I'll do my best to do so. Oh no. Okay, we'll see you in a few minutes. Yeah, the thing is we'll do it early in the morning, but unless we get up at like 5, and go right outside, there's no way to avoid it. Even at like 9 a.m., 10 a.m., it gets pretty hot. So I was out there doing that for, a better part of an hour. Had to drill the holes, had to attach the clips, had to cut and, sear, like melt the edges of the paracord, and then, tie up all that stuff. So it took a little while, but it was no big deal. I don't know if you've noticed, I've gotten some sun. I don't know, it's kind of hard to tell with the lights on me, but I have definitely gotten a lot of sun this summer. Swatgi, how you doing? Welcome. So, the map we're working on here is called a landing page. It's a particular style of map where you create a sort of set piece, a diorama, a backdrop that is representative of, your campaign's identity. So in this case, I'm making one for the campaign I play in. The backdrop is the map, the world map for that. Down at the bottom are images of all the player characters. We've got some items on the table representative of things that have happened during our campaign. Here's a close-up of the area we're in. I was hoping to get a map of that location. I'm working with the DM on that. Hopefully, either I'll build one or we'll come up with something like a hand-drawn map. But, have you ever played like a video game or loaded a DVD where it had like a screen showing kind of a thematic set piece for whatever it is you're loading, a game, a movie, kind of like in Baldur's Gate 3 when you load it, it's got that cool backdrop with with the big staircase and like monolith pillars and stuff. Anyway, the idea is to make a set piece that you could set as a scene for your campaign. So when you're, kind of just refreshing your player's memory and their recap setup, you could have this on a scene loaded on your virtual tabletop or digital surface, and it just kind of gives your players like a little refresher. The Ball Temple entrance, that's what it is. Looking more like Pitbull every stream. Hey, Chim, how are you? Welcome back. How was your weekend? How was everyone's weekend? Whenever we play D&D, whenever I cast Fireball, I'm like, just to be annoying. Fireball. So lately, though, I'm a scribe's wizard in the campaign I play in this campaign that we're setting up the landing page for. And the scribe's wizard can transmute the damage of any spell with another spell's damage at that level. And they could do that at will as many times as they want a day. So, like, I've been turning my fireballs into ice balls or force balls. It's pretty fun because, if the creature is resistant or immune to fireball, I turn that on its side. It's very fun. So I have Magic Missile, which can upcast, to level 3, level 4, and beyond. And I have Chromatic Orb, which also has a bunch of damage types. And then I also have Catapult, so I can do like all these different damage types in the Fireball format, which is great. Anani, what you been up to? Okay, so last week we got started on this map. We're already making a lot of progress, and I've got a piece of custom art to add to it. I'm trying to decide where I want it. Mrs. Mac was so very kind. Let me just make sure where this is. Stand by. There it is. Okay, so Mrs. Mac, you got your house on the market? Nice, Rev. Oh, I just noticed my mouse highlighter isn't working. Let me, there we go. Restarted it. So I'm going to go to the abstract panels. So she made this wanted poster. I'm going to talk to the devs to see if I can use the dev build, which would allow me to rotate this and put it flat and maybe put a knife into it. I'm going to ask them if I could use that to wrap up this build. So it'll likely be there. Otherwise, it'll be on this table. But let's take a closer look at this. Earlier in our campaign, we broke out of a prison after we were all wrongfully imprisoned in this city right here called Malaja Rock, right? And Malaja Rock is a city of giants. It's a giant town. So it's a town for the giants. And it's also giant relative to me, a halfling. We were in a prison there. We were wrongfully imprisoned by a ruthless crime lord there because he was getting paid by the person imprisoned by the warden. Anyway. Yeah, papyrus. It's in everything, man. It's in Avatar. It's on maps. Man, I was watching a show the other day and Papyrus was in it. And I was like, wait, was that Papyrus? And I just laughed. Man, in the late 90s, early 2000s, Papyrus was everywhere. Nice, Anani. That's cool. I'm glad you got some commission work. Hey, Kaihira, welcome back. So the digital potato is more like so the PNG tubers are more like it's an image that moves, right? And has different poses. The potato or peanut guy, right? The digital peanut potato dude or whatever. That's more like a augmented reality skin because it reacts to their movements in real time to their camera or even a capture suit sometimes. So there's a little bit of both on the internet. It really just depends on the format. Okay, so we broke out of prison there. We caused a lot of ruckus getting our revenge. We teamed up with a underworld boss there who was competing against the guy who got us arrested. She harbored us, gave us a bunch of jobs, shady jobs that helped us take out his operation. And then she kind of became the main boss there, and we left after all that. So the hypothetical was, hey, what if before we left town, you know, or after we left town, there's a reward put up for us? What would have happened? So we made this wanted poster, Mrs. Mac did, based on some ideas about our characters. So we have up at the top, we have Evil Lady, which is our tiefling, Mrs. Mac. Identity Unknown Robot. One of our players always wears his helmet. He's only taken it off in front of us. Hey, happy Mapmaker Monday to you, Volcar. So Identity Unknown Robot, question mark. We have a nature paladin who is a Goliath, and he's pretty big. He's like the largest person in our party, and he kicks a lot of butt. So you see him there as the Rock Man. So I like to think this poster was made from like sketches, you know, from the constables, police, or whatever, from secondhand accounts. Bloodthirsty Dragon. So we have our Dragonborn, who is actually a changeling in Dragonborn form, hiding out because he was raised by Dragonborn, so he holds that form most of the time. And then I'm a halfling, and then we have a fairy in the party, and the fairy likes to disguise self, or has a like alter self, where she changes her looks, and she ends up looking like an old woman half the time. So we put possible kidnapped children, and then it's me over here wanted for questioning, and that's just me in my cloak because I'm a halfling, so I look really small, especially in a town of giants. They wouldn't, maybe not be able to tell the difference. Anyway, so it was kind of funny to us. I guess it's more like had to be there kind of stuff, but it really fits our campaign. I really want to have that like flattened up against that and put a knife through it. I think that'd be fun. The downside of that, though, if I do this in this build, I cannot put it on the workshop until after the Fun with Objects Part 2 launches, which could likely be, end of summer or beyond. So this map right here was made by my DM. He has a couple people who do art for him, and this is his world map, which is called Toivoa. And we started over in this area, and then after we caused a ruckus there, we took a boat and came up over here to Grindavik. And we have a bastion kind of over in this area. And then Mrs. Mac hand drew this. The character art varies from person to person. I know Mrs. Mac drew hers. I think the majority of the rest were probably generated by AI by each person. I can't speak for the entire campaign. I am no artist by any means, and I spent hours looking for character art. So, and I didn't want to burden my wife by asking her to draw me a character. So I just generated something, and I was like, this is close enough. That said, back to the build. Trying to think of other things to put on here. What I would like to do is take kind of this region and hand draw it, and then maybe put like a house drawing on it and some other points of interest in the area. Nothing too crazy. And then right here, I was going to put an export of our bastion, which I should probably go grab that right now. So I'm going to save this. We'll open the bastion map, which... Oh, goodness. I just realized that the Steam feed is frozen, so I'm going to refresh that. Sorry. If anyone had been chatting there, my apologies. Just a quick reminder, we're actually streaming on multiple platforms at the moment. We're live on, I think it's 6 or 5 different platforms. So Twitch, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and Steam. So 5. So 5 platforms. We stopped streaming on Twitter a while back, so I forgot about that. Keep adding the number. So this is our bastion, our, house. Which we each have a room and whatnot. I was thinking of exporting this floor, or maybe exporting both floors. What I was thinking of doing is I want to take that art, right, and update it a little bit, kind of put some notes on it and have Mrs. Mac maybe sketch over it just so she has a trace layer to start with. So I have more updated art to reflect my character's look because he's more plump in that picture. And I basically want him to be like a little bit skinnier now. And then also his eyes or one of his eye, like one eye or both eyes will look different, like kind of like a universe or like a solar system or something. Fantastic, Atlam. Thank you for keeping an eye on things. I appreciate you so very, very much. So, did anyone get any gameplay in this weekend? I would love to hear about it if you did. You know, I might actually have images of this already exported. I'm going to check right now. If I do, that'll save me some time. I think I do, but I can't tell, like... I guess it looks close enough. Yeah, it doesn't need to be too crazy. Okay. I'm going to go back to the landing page. Y'all excited for the interview this Saturday with Magdalena Bakiman, one of our art team? I think it's always awesome to have people from our team on because we don't always get them on the strum. Just trying to remember where that is. I love this. So what I'm going to do is shrink this down just a little bit and we'll put it over here like turns. And then I'm going to duplicate it. And I'm going to have each of the floors present if I can. But they'll be kind of stacked on each other. Then this one here, tuck a little bit under that one. Super mod does whatever a mod does. Trying to think of like things to add. So Asmodeus sent me a book, right, to upload, and I can't upload it. It just fails every time. A little bit of both. The table's really large. So just to put this into perspective here, sorry, I have the grid turned off like entirely. I set it to transparent. This isn't a very large map, okay? So the map overall 40 by 40, and I extended the grid because I didn't want that like border right next to me. In fact, I can probably just shrink this by about. Anyway, I'll shrink it down a little bit. We'll get a box perfectly around it later, but for right now, essentially there's just like a small pad of ground, and then I put some freestanding walls here, which I might even size up here in a moment because it looks like this is larger than the walls, which I didn't want. That or all, I've got an idea. If I can select this, goodness. Probably just raise it up. Oh my gosh, I saw a preview of something crazy this morning in our dev chat, and I kind of want to just tell y'all about it. This is part of the reason they don't share things with me, because I am the leak master. But yeah, it's a massive table. This table covers quite a few squares, at least 8 to 10 squares right now. Everything's kind of scaled up. At the end of this map, ultimately, I'm going to be looking at it kind of like this, right? Something like this when I take a picture of it. And so I need everything to kind of be in frame and visible and worthwhile. Okay. Well, this is what we're going to do. I won't show you, but I'll explain it. Okay. So, Quentin, who is going to be on the stream on the 20th, has been working on a new tool for Dungeon Alchemist that is a spline tool for like freestanding walls, allowing you to kind of freehand draw walls much better and other objects. Though this will be limited to object drawing. So assets, not... yeah, you get the idea. Okay, what other things can I put on here? More candles, some lighting. It's time to put this. It's a spline tool, so it allows you to draw walls in a sort of splicing way, yeah. So imagine when you're drawing an object, right now you have to manually attach them like I was doing up here a minute ago, right? One at a time, kind of align them. The spline tool, you could just go brrr, and it just draws them all. So it's more like drawing a wall in, say, like Age of Empires or something, where you have a lot more control over the shape. Does that make sense? What else do I want to put on here? So I either want the reward sign there or I want it here. Like the poster. That was nothing like this. Trust me, this is way better. That was like an early build of whatever this is. Yes, we're talking freestanding walls. Jack, why are you the way you are? Okay, I need to think of some things to cram into these spaces. How about we just go through the objects and take a look? Oh, we do have a Drake head, but this not easy to resize. It was a shadow Drake. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna use this. I'm gonna grab me a freestanding wall of any kind. Will this not snap to it? Please tell me it does. I don't think it will. I think it's too big. Darn it. I was really hoping it would snap to it. Darn it. Really want to resize that. See what that looks like. If it's too imposing, I probably won't do it. I mean, that could be cool. Wasn't really the intention, though. Though that looks pretty dope. That won't affect it. It's just too far. I kind of want to lift it up so the shadow is kind of over where we are, because we're actually about to take on a dragon in our next arc. Like, we're in a dungeon, well, like the lair of a dragon right now, or we're approaching it very closely. Dang it. Was hoping to get it like You know, there's been maps that have done shadow trickery for some time. Oh, ages ago, Hieronymo did a map where he had shadow demons attacking like it was like a temple of Saloon. And so all the clerics and monks and stuff were defending the temple of Saloon, and it was just a bunch of lights against like abstract shadow objects. But yeah, Chim's done one, Hieronymo's done one. Playing with shadows is fun. That actually looks really cool. Okay, let's look for other objects to put on the table because I want to fill in these gaps a bit. And I'm going to change this map with some custom art next week. This is just a placeholder. Possibly these images are placeholders too. More than anything, I just grabbed everyone's character art right off their sheet, and it's like 2 years old at this point, so would be nice for a refresher. A little leather bag wouldn't be bad. We could put that maybe. Break it down a little bit. This looks like a pouch of some sort. Be cool if we had one of these where this top was open, so you could have things like in it, like a book or something. Let's see, do we have any cool pottery? Canopic jar is always fun. You know, we haven't had a party member die yet. So, don't jinx me. That said, I mean, if a party member is going to die, this is going to be the time. We're going into a very dangerous encounter coming up. But I've had an item up my sleeve that I've been holding on to for like the last 10 sessions that I'm hoping that'll make really short work of this boss fight. That could be another way to do the Shadow Drake is with the magic lantern. It just... Oh, hold on. I'm getting an idea. Note to self, don't resize that until you're ready. It's too bright when it's close. Ah, can't get it the way I like it. Just too far. Need like a more solid surface to broadcast it on. When you get too close, it's too bright. Like this would be good, but no one's going to see that. Ah, that's smart. Might ask Mrs. Mac to invert it. That said, I can't wait till we can rotate this projector and aim it at the ceiling or at the ground or something. Really have fun with it. Looked pretty good there. It was too big. No worries. It's not the end of the world. We're gonna ABS, always be saving. Ooh, I have my caps on. Jeez, I thought my caps was broken. Hmm. Another one of mine is always be snuggling. Okay, I might use this dagger because it looks like a lot like a dagger we've got. So we found a dagger early on, right after we escaped. We essentially, part of our escape was we deceived some guards because our shapeshifter changed into the head guard in that area or whatever, the warden, and walked us out past a ton of guards. We deceived them, walked right past them. And then we didn't have much on us, but the clothes on our backs and a little bit that we found on the way out. So we went to an inn nearby to lay low, kind of in the slums. And while we were there, we got a room, and I did an investigation on the room to look for anything that we could use in our, travels, anything that might have been left behind, stashed, or as part of the room that might be useful. And most of it was like candles and, here's some paper and some curtains. But I rolled a freaking 31 on my investigation check, and the DM rewarded us with a sentient dagger called the Lady in Red, which has been an absolutely funny piece of equipment for our campaign. Yeah, we had some soaps. Like, it really wasn't much of anything. But it honestly kind of looks like that. I'm not even joking. So the dagger can read magical text. It likes talking to its owner. And it also can track people through walls. And you can, if you were the last person to hold the dagger, it like stabs you when you hold it. But it bonds to you over that stab, and you can teleport to the position of the dagger if it's not on your person. So like you can leave it somewhere. Like when I get into battle, I'll leave it way back at the back of the battle line and move up closer. And if I'm in a position where I'm like, oh crap, I'll just teleport right back to it for 1 HP. It's a pretty cool weapon. That's what it looks like in the art. So tell me it doesn't look like that already. Pretty close. I like it. Right now, that's a good placeholder for what it will be. Again, I'm going to go get rid of that line from the grid. If you make it transparent, because even if the grid's off, the outer line is still there. But if you make it completely transparent, it disappears. Pro tip by Mac. Okay, so we've got this shadow. We've got the wanted poster with the dagger. Let me get rid of this dagger. I might have some generic text or something on a paper like this. This one, I don't really like how it doesn't blend with the papers below it either. It's just a placeholder. I think it was Random Ladybird or maybe Highland Lass that made this. Shared it with everyone. Just a neat little plain text little document. Help me think of other things to put on the table. Maybe some life, like a flower. Because we have like our paladin is a nature paladin, and our fairy, they're both kind of nature nuts, if you will. And I kind of want to get some representation of everyone in the party. In at least a little way, you know? One nice thing I like about the potted plants is also you could just take any pot and put a plant in it. So we've gotten our DM's really good about dropping magical items. Like we have a pretty good inventory of magical items. A lot of, stuff that isn't necessarily attunable. So it's good, we are able to stack it up quite a bit. We also are able to kind of take liberties with our downtime shopping. We have like a list of items that we have access to and their prices, and we can buy those during our downtime. Because we only get to play once a month, so we don't spend a lot of time doing shopping during our sessions, unless it's like critical to the plot. I want a plant that is peppers. So one of our players, he like flirted with another fairy. So this dude, in one of our sessions prior, we were hired by a noble in the area to figure out what was wrong with his wife. He had a bunch of fairy healers there with various different ways to heal, and they were all failing miserably at healing his wife. So he asked us to investigate. And this dude was flirting with one of the other fairies, and she ended up like giving him, because she was using capsaicin to heal. And she gave him one of the peppers when they went on a date later. So let's see if we got peppers. That could work. We'll download that just in case. And then we'll also look for jalapeno. No. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a plant. Just kind of looking what the leaves look like. Wasn't oranges in that, we could do it. You could probably pull off this basil as like a pepper plant. Doesn't need to be perfect. And at the end of the day, it's a fantasy world, so. Darn it. This is one of those objects that once you let go of it, you do not get to keep it. Got a bad collider. Jeez, man. They could have taken and put in like silvery barbs in there, right? And cast that at will or shield at will. Oh my goodness. What did they put in it? Please tell me they wasted it. I kind of think this fits that knuckle thing with the spikes because it's like when you grip it, it stabs you. And then that's how it bonds with you temporarily. Or yeah, healing word or cure wounds at will. Yeah, they're getting bigger. The pepper plants are for sure. They're starting to like lots of like leaves are starting to bloom and like runners. Mrs. Max really happy with their progress so far. We have an immovable rod, so we could take like something like this and nah, that doesn't look like an immovable rod. I'm trying to think of what other stuff we could put on the table that might make sense, relevant to us, you know? Oh man, I wish. I don't think they'd hold up well. So back to the Hendrick plush. By the way, I was trying to figure out how to set up the giveaway all weekend. I was having trouble with the Dino bot, and then I realized the giveaway wouldn't work unless you have a paid sub. I guess they changed it sometime, or I forgot that. I don't know. So you have to, I set up a paid subscription with them. So we're going to hopefully drop the giveaway today or tomorrow, information about it. After the stream, I was going to go to the park, take some pictures of the Hendricks together by like a tree or in the grass, and then add them to a video I have. And we'll hopefully get the announcement for the giveaway out soon. I have it all drafted, and I just need to finish a little bit on the video and adjust the script and do some voiceover for it. So it should be done hopefully today or tomorrow. But anyway, the giveaway, we're giving away 2 Hendricks, and we'll be doing it in our Discord. So you want to stay tuned to our Discord. Make sure you're a member of our Discord so you can get a chance to win one of these 2 Hendricks. So we've got the plushie Hendrick right here, right? And then we have the 3D printed Hendrick, which I took the 3D model of the Hendrick, right? That's on the workshop that I uploaded ages ago. Magdalena actually made this model. And then the creators in Belgium that made this, they used that model as the basis, but they had to take some liberties to make it easier to craft, obviously. This here is basically based off of the 3D printed or the 3D design model that is available on the workshop. I got a new 3D printer recently. It was a gift from a friend who, you know, wanted me to try out this new technology. How you doing, Night Demon? Welcome back. But they got me set up with a multicolor printer that allows you to set up, you know, 4 colors in a single sitting. Well, actually 5 technically with this printer. And it will adjust through those colors as it prints. So Hendrick here is very, like, looks really good just right off the press without any painting or minor, doesn't need much in the way of cleanup. I'm going to do some minor sanding and some cleanup and it'll be good to go. So these will be the prizes we'll be shipping out. So there's 2 chances to win a Hendrick. So basically to enter, you just have to be on our Discord and you'll have to like click on a post and click enter or like the post, I believe, when the post goes live. He looks great, doesn't he? I'm considering printing a smaller one and doing 3 prizes, but I think for this one we'll just do 2, and then in the future we'll do 3. Honestly, I did a print before this of Hendrik and it didn't turn out well. It was really bad, and so I had to adjust my printer settings, my slicing settings to make sure it was fine-tuned. It was the first time I'd done a multicolored print of this complexity. So, you know, whatever. But I got better. Doesn't he look so good? Okay, so let's take a closer look at each of them, right? His wings, solid. You've got talons that are colored. His horns, fully colored there. He's got his eyes are a separate color, obviously, from his skin tone. Anyway, there is that one, and then we have the plushie. So you wouldn't want to put that in your tower because it's printed in PLA, and PLA has a low melting temp, so it would probably cause his like ears, his tail, his wings to sag over time in a printer like that, or in a PC case, because they get pretty hot inside. Sadly, if it was printed in PETG, it'd be different. PETG has a higher melting temp, so it's more resilient. But PLA is a much easier to print with filaments. It's just easier to work with overall. That's why I went that route with this. In the future, though, now that I've done this and I've got it to work, I'm going to talk to the devs about getting like a small filament budget for printing these on the regular, so I can give them away like semi-regularly. I'm hoping to instead maybe like 2 a month or something. The plushies won't last forever, but these 3D prints I can print on demand, right? Yeah, if he melts, that would be bad for your PC for sure. But if I started doing them in PETG, we wouldn't have a problem. The problem with PETG though is it's petroleum based, and it's becoming rarer and rarer in like exotic colors. So it's harder to get and more expensive, and it's out of stock in a lot of instances. And I like to also stick to the Bamboo brand because they have RFID chips in their thing. Their filament spools are recyclable. They separate in the center. They like unlock so you can reuse them and put on spools of filament. So basically their reels track how much filament's left. They're reusable, and they have refill packs that are significantly cheaper. So I don't know. I really enjoy their ecosystem so far. They've definitely sold me. They've locked me in. But I would love to give these out on the regular, right? In the stream, in the Discord, on social media. And I can do that now that I've got this print profile figured out and kind of dialed in. I want to make some subtle adjustments, but for the most part, it's pretty solid. So, yeah. Yeah, these were a custom commission by an artist in Belgium. They make custom plushies and like cosplay like costumes and stuff. So we only have a limited batch of these. So when they're done, right? So essentially I would love to keep that going, that momentum of giving these cool, plushies away, but at least we'll be able to do it with the 3D prints, right? Anyway, sorry for the rant there. I think a shield would be a good idea. Let's look at some of the shields on the workshop, because there's a ton. One of them may look more like one of our dude's shields. Like we just got a shield of it, like repels spell damage or something. What is it? Oh, It's not on me. One of our players got it, so I don't know. Our fighter has it. It is. Bro. Oh, the spell guard shield. So, while holding the shield, you have advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects, and spell attack rolls have disadvantage on you. Was new in the DA world. Hey, Andrew, how you doing? Your TTRPG screen fried, man. I am so sorry to hear that. How long ago was this? Because then I can get an idea of what you haven't seen and what you have seen. Three months? Oh my goodness. I mean, in the last 3 months, we did have a small update recently that was more geared towards our printed map community. It was a small patch called the fine print patch, and it had a feature in it that allows you to split up large maps into smaller printable sheets. So it cuts it up automatically into the size of paper you set. So essentially, if you have a printer at home and you want to print maps, but they're too large, normally you could only do it so small. Oh no, player got a little... Bro, please tell me they've at least offered to like help, you know, repair it or replace it. Yeah, when I build a TV tabletop setup, I want it to be modular, and I hope to have it set up in a way that it's raised, so it's harder to spill on. You know, it's above the table, or if it's in the table, I want it to be covered with plexi, like something that helps it be more scratch resistant, water resistant. But man, that's a bummer. I'm so sorry, Andrew. So I don't think it would melt per se, right, Atlam and PLA, but it would sag. Oh, the venue's going to replace it? Well, that's good, Andrew. Hopefully they replace it sometime soon. This kind of looks like a spell guard shield. I'm looking for something that kind of gives off that vibe. I'm looking at it on D&D Beyond just to see what they have for the art. I don't necessarily have to do that, but we also plan to launch an update before the end of the summer, Andrew, which the update will include the ability to rotate objects on any axis, tons of new objects, including a new like biome and room type that look like hand drawn, so it's more like an artistic style. And then we also plan to offer... Shoot, I mean, there's a bunch of new stuff in this update. It's hard to kind of remember it all. Oh, I imagine when it comes to larger maps, you know, especially if they're a multi-level map, they can definitely be a big burden on a laptop. This one kind of looks cool. Let's do that one. I think after this update, we'll only have like 4 major updates remaining. So we're getting pretty close. Yeah, high seas is looking to be next year, most likely 2027. I'm gonna replace this mask with this. I also, object grouping will be in the next update, so you'll be able to group objects together and move them as a group. I spoke with our devs, and they said that the next big thing they're going to be working on is mirroring. So hopefully they get that figured out. And I saw a demo of object splining today. So you would paint an object, and it follows a line of where you draw your mouse to like a much more refined degree. Technically, Night Demon, if this landing page was used in a virtual tabletop, you can make it interactive, but not really. It's more just a set piece. Think of it like a diorama. If I wanted it, though, to... Ooh, this looks interesting. You know what? We killed a dream holder recently, and we kept its body and sold it, so we could probably do something like this. Yeah, Andrew, so what you do is you select a single light, right, on your map. And then you go into the setting for that light, you know, adjust the settings for it, whether you're changing the color of the candle or the color of the lighting, its brightness, if you're turning it on or off. In this case, you wanted it off. Once you've done that, you've set it how you want it and configured it to how you want it to copy to everything else, right? You would then Control C for copy, just like copy paste. Control V for paste. And then you drag it across the map. Notice all my candles turned to red and turned off because they're now matching the candle I copied it from. Just undid that with Control Z. But yeah, that should square you away there. It's just select the object you want to copy properties from, whether it's you want all your doors open or closed, all your objects' animations to turn on and off, changing the colors of all these objects to match, or disabling all the light or enabling all the light in a town all at once. It's a very, very powerful feature. Or in a region or in an area. Maybe you want to change all the crystals in one area to a similar color. Stuff like that. So it essentially copies the properties of an object to another object. Does that make sense? It works on a lot of objects, actually. So one thing I'm thinking of is I kind of want to have this map dotted with things we've done. You know, like an X at Malaja Rock, and then the dots of our travel in a boat until we got here to Grindavik. And then a house drawn on it, maybe on this map, showing like where we live and like a cave where we're at currently, etc. Roofs toggle? What do you mean? To toggle between roof levels, you just go up and down with the plus or minus key. So if you go below that level, the roof is no longer exposed. Alternatively, you can just delete a roof, but that would erase it entirely. So roofs aren't really objects. Anything that's outside of the object menu, aside from tokens, really doesn't act like an object. Yeah, like the map on Emperor's New Groove, or in like, you know, like the old Indiana Jones trope where it shows the travel, you know what I mean, across the map, or like in old games like Golden Axe that would show where you've traversed across the map. So Night Demon, if you had wanted roofs on some buildings and others, no. A combination of things can accomplish that. You can either have them at separate levels, so like at separate heights, the roofs are revealed. So like in this map down on the table, for instance, which is a map of my group's bastion, this is the ground floor, this is the second floor, this is the roof level, right? So the roof is exposed and off if we have this floor visible or this floor visible. That's one way. If you have buildings at separate heights, so maybe one has a roof at floor 1 and one has a roof at floor 3, when you're at floor 3, the roofs on both would be visible, but if you're down a level from that one, only the roof at 1 would be visible. Does that make sense? Alternatively, let's see here. Yeah, the ability to hide roofs at will would be interesting. Right now, we only give you the option to essentially erase the roof, not to hide it temporarily. But if you want to do something like that, you would probably do it in a virtual tabletop software. So what you would do is you would export your map and then put it in a virtual tabletop software. And then that software would have all the data exported from our maps. So like Foundry, Fantasy Grounds, Roll20 or above VTT would be ideal because they're directly compatible with our exports. And that would include lighting data, wall data, windows, doors, etc. And essentially the roof in a building would be present until a player's inside that building or peeks inside. So when they look inside through a window, they could see kind of a slit of what they can see inside. Or if they're inside, the roof disappears and peels back. Foundry, it's kind of one of those tools that it is definitely got a learning curve to it. Keep in mind, it's designed by, it's designed to be useful for people who like to mod or like to develop. And it's a developer modder paradise, right? There are easier virtual tabletops out there. Like Roll20 is relatively easy to use. So is Above VTT. Relatively low ceiling or learning curve. I've heard good things about Owlbear VTT. Roll20 has a free option and then they have a monthly option. Owlbear, free. Foundry is a one-time fee. Fantasy Grounds is a one-time fee. So it really just depends on the company. But yeah, it is nice to just pay once and deal with that, right? Just have that one-time fee for a lifetime license. Oh, it is oh, that's right. Fantasy Grounds is free. Don't they have a paid version as well that includes like more stuff though? Or is it just all free? It's a great tool, Night Demon, but it's also a double-edged sword. Because those modules, they lose support over time if someone loses interest or, maybe moves on from the hobby or passes away. So often there's usually people who have to pick up the mantle and start developing for them and take over for it. Sometimes they're not updated to recent versions of Foundry, or the updates take months to get into parity with it or a compatibility with it. Every service is different. Above VTT is free. There's a lot of them that are free or a nominal fee. Some are monthly. They vary. Honestly, Andrew, I wouldn't expect much in the way of audio in Dungeon Alchemist, just simply because, first and foremost, it's a map-making tool, right? At the end of the day, that's our priority and focus for it is map making. Gameplay, while it does work in it, it's not really its intended purpose. Audio, effects and stuff like that would be something you'd have to run independently. Though the devs have said, because we get a lot of people saying, hey, why don't you make this into a virtual tabletop or a play experience? We've gotten a lot of requests for that, right? So the devs have stated numerous times that after we leave early access and have delivered on all our stretch goals and stuff, all our promises through our Kickstarter, there is a possibility of a Dungeon Alchemist VTT. Most likely it would be a standalone tool that works in tandem with Dungeon Alchemist, offers a much more compatibility with our maps than any other virtual tabletop could, right? Mainly because it's directly designed around it. That said, when that would launch, what it would entail, how much it would cost, no idea. But it would likely be a standalone app that would work in parity with Dungeon Alchemist. Because we don't want to add feature creep to Dungeon Alchemist and get it to a point where it just doesn't run well. And the more we add to it, the worse it's going to run. Especially features that weren't planned with it. Sirenscape, I just got a recommendation, Andrew, from one of our viewers over on Twitch. They said Sirenscape is a great recommendation for audio, as a massive audio library that works great for games, virtual or in person. I keep trying to think of what we can add to this map to make it more, interesting. Where are the snacks? I don't know. Sounds for Halloween. Awesome. When I was growing up, my mom had like a record that had all the Halloween sounds on it. And she just put it on and flip it over several times a night. And then later on, she got a tape. And then later on, I got her a CD of all the like Halloween sounds. It would just play like spooky sounds or creepy sounds in the background, I mean. And eventually, when she got that CD, she was so hyped because it was like so much easier. Like, just put it on repeat all night. We do have a shadow here. We took out a shadow drake. I was going to put the drake in the build, but I wanted to shrink the head and I couldn't. So I opted instead to just use the shadow of it. Like the artwork that you see there is, kind of like an ominous shadow. And we're actually in a dungeon to take out like a dragon at the moment. So kind of fun. No degen gnome. Like that name. Welcome. How you doing? It is smart. Honestly, like I don't like when someone's like, I only want to use one tool. I mean, that's fine. That's totally fine. But the way I look at it is like a carpenter can't build, all the cabinets in a home or all the finished work in a building with just a hammer, right? Like they need saws and chisels and all sorts of different things to effectively build their product, right? Not only that, but skill. Hey, see you later, Andrew. You have a good one. So it's a good idea to just, several tools in your belt. A tool for sound, a tool for maybe a couple map making tools, one that's like Dungeon Alchemist for your encounters and smaller maps, and maybe one that's for like a world map, right? Exactly, Chim, you get it. And the more tools they have, the more things they can do, right? Man, that would have been a perfect use for object grouping. Let's see how this looks at the moment. Probably gonna have to move that shadow after all. Because I can't really tell what it is at the moment. Looks like a little bit of both is gonna have to be moved. Let's save again, and then I'm going to move this shadow. So we can see more of it. That's actually cool because this is where we are. And I think the place we're in is right here, right now. So, right here, right now. Kind of cool that I can move the dragon. Rawr, rawr, rawr. It's fun. I'm not gonna lie. Dinosaur. Can't even see Grindavik. What? This is looking pretty good. Thinking I'll trade this over here for that. And we'll put this book here because we just destroyed it, basically. Move the compass a little bit. That'll be where the final book goes. We're going to move this back a little bit, which I hate, but it's going to happen. Peppers. Dude. Oops, wrong one. Thinking one more light on this side a little bit. and then we'll put like an abstract light over it to kind of blend it all together so it's not so segmented. Like, I'll probably just do that right now. Pull it back. That is so bright. Lift it up a bit, see what that looks like. Yeah, I like that better. More above the table instead of on it. Oh, of course. At the end of the day. See what this looks like. Nope. Yep, even the dagger casts a shadow, but not the hobbit. You're right. Oh! I'm actually kind of eager to see how that plays out now. Nani just making the rounds. Networking's good, man. Drop into lots of streams, get to know people, you know, collaborate. Good way to build. That said, be careful. There's a lot of people out there who really only out there for themselves. I really like this view here. I might bring these documents over and kind of tighten it up a bit because you can't really see everything on that other side, so... Doesn't this look pretty cool? Nice, Anani. Nice, man. That's great. It is so great. Oh, I think one of the hardest parts of me as the community manager is keeping track of all these streams now. I'm like following hundreds of streamers who use Dungeon Alchemist in their content now. So I try to keep track of it all, and it's starting to become, whoa, it's a lot. But I love supporting y'all so much. Before the stream earlier, I dropped into someone's. That was Sophie actually was streaming Dungeon Alchemist. And I was getting ready, and I had my Twitch up and saw it, and I was like, I'm going to say hi. But yeah, I always love to drop by and say hello, vibe when I can. So, shoot, my campaign's coming up. We're a couple weeks out. It's on the 14th. So, couple weeks. Be having some information there about our next session. And then in July, we're doing 2 sessions. Nice, Rev. I'm excited for you. So I've been considering getting back into streaming on my personal channel again. My personal channels are setting up a new brand for myself. But I have all these channels and brand like stuff under MacX 3D, which I used to do a lot of streaming on my own personal channels, gaming, content creation, 3D printing mainly, mixed with gaming. But I think going forward, I'm going to not do so much gaming. It'll be more of a backseat type thing that I do once in a while. It'll mostly be like crafts, hangouts, like chat, you know, like a talk show type situation where we're hanging like we are now. But also crafts in my garage on, you know, so carpentry or, you know, various projects there, the garden, potentially 3D printing, most likely, cosplay, miniatures and painting miniatures, and then tabletop gaming. I like Anani's setup. He's done a good job with his, you know, his art and his effects and stuff. I've always wanted to do more of that on this stream, but from the get-go, the devs always wanted to kind of keep it simple. But yeah, I've been considering doing like a Hendrix style avatar, which I have some art all done up, and I was experimenting with it a bit, but I just didn't know if I was happy with it. And then also like, you know, oh, when people follow, shout outs and stuff. But at the same time, I've seen situations where that gets abused so much, so I just like avoid it as well. I don't know. I'm a old school streamer. I like the simplistic design with very minimal stuff. Though I do not like the damn challenge marquee. I was thinking of like a little bar on the bottom that just permanently says upcoming damn challenge and our next guest. So we just like always have that information. Like a little scroll that's unfurled or something. Anyway, been thinking of updating the graphics a bit for a while. Or adding graphics, I should say. But yeah, the assets on this are a combination of stock assets and then custom like art assets. Like this board here is a chalkboard, blackboard, but then I inserted this map into it, right? And then this is an abstract with custom art made by Mrs. Mac. This dagger is from the workshop. This pepper is from the workshop. That shield's from the workshop. I froze? Interesting. Not showing any dropped frames on my end at the moment, so that's interesting. Still live on TikTok. That is weird. Hey, is it back for y'all? Test, test, test. It is definitely delayed now. Hey, Terry, thank you for the kind words. Hope you're doing well. Glad you're enjoying Dungeon Alchemist. It's weird. I'm looking at my stream feed, no dropped frames, nothing. So I'm wondering if it's either just a temporary hiccup with Twitch or something. But, you know, it happens sometimes. It's showing an unstable connection with Twitch and only Twitch. All my other... Oh, it's back. It's back to excellent on Twitch. It just fixed. It just stabilized. Random. Just grab all these clothes and get in this random hot dog car. Cool. Well, I'm glad it's working. And for those that it isn't working, make sure you hit refresh. Chat, let everyone know to refresh just in case. Terry, glad to hear you enjoy Dungeon Alchemist. What's your favorite feature so far? And what is something you'd like to see us add? I'd like to hear your feedback if I could. It's not often we get people chatting on Steam, so I'd love to hear back. Thank you, Terry. Thank you. Yeah, I'm making a landing page, which is intended to be sort of a scenic backdrop for, you know, a campaign. So essentially kind of like a loading screen for like a DVD or a video game. So it's like a dramatic set piece diorama with information relevant to the story, kind of like a sort of a primer. And this is kind of the intended view for this. Something like this. Bremen, I did kind of just explain that in an essence, but a lot of people call it a landing page. That's what artists who make these call them. Typically, a landing page is essentially a centralized spot that has relative information for a topic. So in the context of a campaign, here we have a world map for the campaign I'm playing in, player art, content that is relevant to the campaign. So there is maps of our bastion here, a wanted poster of the players. There's a shadow of a dragon in the area where we live and are actually in a dungeon kind of right here-ish. So essentially, I'm adding thematic components into a map that is a singular set piece, like a diorama intended to be a scene on like a virtual tabletop. So think of it as like when you start your campaign, you're like, hey, we're going to have this as the loading screen. You don't necessarily need to say that to your players, but then they see all of these relevant things that reminds them of the campaign while you're catching them up on like a replay or, you know, notes from last session. So think of it as essentially a diorama, the thematic set piece that has to do with your campaign and is a primer for each session, so they can just kind of get a refresher of things they've experienced. Relative to my campaign, a lot of these things are things that make sense to us. So we have, oh, here is a ledger from the prison we escaped that our fighter took with him. Here is a crown that one of our players has, a cursed crown. Here is a map of the local area. Here is a book called the Black Sigil that we actually just destroyed. I destroyed in last session, and I lost my shadow but gained a feat with a bunch of other abilities. Here is a pepper plant because one of our players got a pepper from a fairy that uses them for healing, and he's been growing them because he wants to make pepper bombs. Yeah, I think Twitch has a slight delay unless you refresh. It's up to the moment right now on Twitch, I think. Maybe a 3 to 4 second delay tops. So, I mean, in your case, Bremen, I'm sure you know, if with your campaign with your players, you could probably put together a similar set piece that has thematic components from your campaign. This is the most common style, is like a decorated table with a backdrop, but I've seen others where it's just a room is it. I've seen where it's like an extended set piece where you look out a window and see stuff in the background. It's really just dependent on how you want it to look, right? In this case, though, a lot of this is scaled up. So I have a table that is massive. If the grid was on, you'd be able to tell. This map actually is only like 30 by 30, 33 by 30, really small. And then this area here, really small, but everything's scaled up in order to kind of get a forced perspective to get closer to everything. Not everyone could use a set piece like this, but especially if you play on like a TV tabletop or like a digital tabletop surface in a live game, or even if you have like a projector playing images in the background, you could have this up. Alternatively, if you're playing on a virtual tabletop, this is where this really shines, because you set it up as a scene in your virtual tabletop, and it's kind of an underrated use for Dungeon Alchemist that a lot of people don't really think about. You know what I mean? I need a larger shadow. Fortunately, there's really no way to make it larger. Short of closer, and then I risk this being seen. So I'm just going to leave it where it was. So do y'all, I don't know, I grew up in the like 90s, right? Born in the 80s, grew up in the 90s. And there was a karate trend sweeping the nation in the late 80s and 90s. It started with shows like Karate Kid, right? And then you had stuff like Skateboard Ninjas, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Three Ninjas, right? Anyway, I grew up on a lot of shows like that, right? And I guess the point I'm getting at is in one of those shows, Three Ninjas, the boys were like trained since they were little young boys by their grandfather, who was like from Okinawa or Japan or something, and he trained them karate, and he taught them how to make pepper bombs to defend themselves. And they had a home invasion at their home, a la, you know, like Home Alone, and they defended the home from the home invaders, who were essentially a bunch of hired dudes to kidnap these kids because they, you know, the guy, their boss, was like a drug lord kingpin who used to be trained by their grandfather, so he had a grudge. Anyway, they make pepper bombs out of like assorted pepper they have in the home and put them in like coffee filters and throw them at the dudes. And it's iconic in the show because the dudes get like blinded. And as a kid, I always thought, man, that'd be cool. But then when he recommended it, I was like, are you Three Ninjasing me right now? And he's like, how did you know? Anyway, because he wanted to make pepper bombs. American Ninja. Oh my gosh, Ninja Warrior and American Ninja. Yes, that was another trend that was really popular. I'm beginning to think this is really close to where I want it. There's only a little bit of stuff left that I want to do. The framing is important, right? I need some paperwork on that like document there that's sealed, like a text document. I need a hand-drawn map over here. Ooh, 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 ooh. You know what? I have one other document I can use. We were given a map because we did some research before we went into the current place we're in. And it's like a hand-drawn map. That's a good one. Okay, this is where we're actually at right now. So we came through this door right here, right? That's where we broke through using the book that, you know, got rid of my shadow, destroyed my shadow. And then as we came through, we got attacked by like a big construct and then a bunch of like fire related guys. Fire elemental, lava lizards. I can't remember what they are. Anyway, a whole bunch of guys. We've been pushing down this leg and we're right here-ish, and we could see like a portal in here of some sort or like a magic circle on the ground. I think this is where the boss is in the room. Though we can see guys on these ledges and out on these. I have an awakened mind in my spell book, and I had it go ahead across the lava because it can fly, and I was scouting ahead around the corners to see where everything is. But it's also opposite side of the battle, closer to our front enders, so I can cast to them through it if I need to. But now we have this map present on this. That looks cool, because that's where we are right now. So probably want another map of this area here close up and probably put it over here somewhere. And then I want something on this, just some text, like a contract or something, or just generic text that says something about us. Maybe the title for our bastion. Anyway. See, we don't really have a name of our campaign, and the name of our group was a placeholder name called the Fighting Mongooses. We literally just gave it a placeholder name because it was like a joke name. Like it sounds like the name for like a high school basketball team, right? But it's actually a joke from Futurama. There's like an episode where they're trying to pick teams to be like, well, basically they end up going to an alternate universe where there's like close copies of them. Bender, there's a gold version. Leela has, you know, black hair, or no, Fry has black hair. Everybody's like slightly different, right? And then they're trying to come up with names for each group. And like universe A1, universe B, or universe 2, universe A, universe B. And then Fry's like, we should be the Mongooses, the Fighting Mongooses. That's a good name. Yeah, like a mongoose image or a stamp. Maybe we just need like a seal that looks like a mongoose. Maybe we just need to own it. It was a joke. Leela only has one eye. In the alternate dimension, she just has different hair and wears different colored clothes. I like this angle right here. I'm feeling like this is almost done. I just need some custom art to wrap it up, and we'll put some finishing touches on it next week. I'm thinking like this is pretty much good. So I'm going to have Mrs. Mac add the trail to the map in the background. And then we're going to probably have a closer up map of Grindavik that shows like the areas we've cleared and our bastion on it. And then this document here in the corner, we'll put some text on it, something generic that says fighting mongooses, maybe have a seal. You should do it, Bremen. Honestly, by the end of next stream, this will be up on the workshop, so we'll probably be picking a theme at the end of next stream. I'm gonna see if I can get updated character art from the team, and then I'll make up like a text document, and then I'm gonna have Mrs. Mac edit this map with a trail on it. We need a sea serpent right here because we fought some around this cape here. A category with all the items you can customize. So I've learned that if you type custom, it also pulls up quite a few of them. But yeah, there are still plenty that you need. So for right now, unfortunately, the best way to tell is when you click on an object if it has this. I think what I'm going to do for now is make a wiki entry that has every customizable object in it. So you know like their names and maybe examples of a few. But there's a lot of paintings, and then you have the abstract objects, right? There's a rug. There's some papers, documents, like a parchment that you can put things in. There's a book that you can put things in. So yeah, they're kind of all spread out. So it would be nice if under this section there is an added tab that just had all of those objects that are spread across all these categories in a singular category, right? The customizable, cape, all of those things. For right now, unfortunately, Bremen, it is, you look at the object and see if it does it. There's no UI that indicates it until the object's present. I do know our next update will include an update to the object UI that shows 3 dots if the object has a variant. I would also love UI if it's customizable, like maybe a bucket or something, or a brush, so you can insert a painting, like this image on it showing that it's customizable. Bro, I'm on your side with this, trust me. It's just kind of one of those things that it's like an early access woe at the moment. You know what I mean? There's always going to be little things like that that just don't make sense. It would be so much simpler, and it's just not present for that reason. Early access. Like at a glance, knowing which objects are customizable, whether it's you can change their color, like the color of, the lighting, or, the color of a crystal, or the color of a candle, or the potion, some kind of icon on it, like a paint symbol, or that icon for the image would be great. Just so at a glance, it has that feature without even having to put it down. Anyway, I'm really happy with where this is at. I'm going to look at and see if there's any other objects we can add to this. I'm thinking one more candle over here somewhere. Maybe another candelabra. You can never have too many candelabras. There's 2 things people never expect. Lots of candelabras and the Spanish Inquisition. starting to move some of these props in closer because you can't really see them on the outskirt edge. So it makes sense to have them a little bit closer. I'm going to save, and I'm going to go look on the workshop to see if there's a crown that better matches the cursed crown my son's currently wearing. So he got it off of a cursed dream, or a starved dream holder, which is like a weaker beholder, right? And the crown is actually an interesting item. It has a lot of spells built into it. It's really powerful, but it has 9 stalks on it, and each of those stalks has a crystal eye. And in my identifying and like researching of the object, we found that the creator of the crown can actually see through those eyes and spy on you. So, and it can't be removed from his head unless, of course, you cast, remove curse, dispel curse, whatever, one of those things. Actually, I think that one will be the best. We'll probably even put some gems on it, but that, or they've been updated over time and the wiki hasn't been updated to reflect, because a lot of our art gets changed, but the wiki's always a little bit behind. A drinking cup, yeah, that makes sense. There is some wine sitting here, but a cup would be cool. We could do like a mug, or like one of these teacups. I'd wager that's the case. I mean, the wiki is a combination of updated by myself and the devs when we have time, but also updated by our community, right? Because anyone in the community can make an account and make changes. So what I'm guessing is there is likelihood there's a mistake, a typo or whatever, or it got mixed up with a different item. But likely the item just got changed subtly, and then the dimensions haven't been updated. Y'all want to see the item I've been saving for 10 sessions to use on this boss? As soon as I had an inkling that there was a boss on the horizon, I just started saving it. Dude, chill out. I'm gonna leave this here too. Maybe add another graphic or something in this. Have any crafting items? Like things we can craft? I'm the only person in our party that's really interested in crafting. I have the Artificer, like I have 1 level in Artificer, so I started with a ton of proficiencies. That's where I kind of started, was Artificer. And then I went straight Wizard after that. But I do have an all-purpose tool as a magical item, which is a spellcasting focus for an Artificer that allows you to... It's essentially a sonic screwdriver from Doctor Who. It's any tool you need it to be. So you can change it to any artisan tool on the fly, and you're instantly proficient with that artisan tool. So essentially any crafting is done by me. We also have a a workshop with several crafting stations in it and hirelings in our bastion. So we do have stuff like that, but I wouldn't say it's like a focus of our campaign. You know what I mean? That said, I could look in the artificer, like engineering junk, and see if there's anything that looks like my tool, because I think there's a couple things. Oh, you need them for your builds? Of course. Morgana, if you go to utility or craft, there's hundreds of crafting items in these. Sorry, I thought you were making suggestions for the build. My bad. But like under Taylor's tools, there's scissors, right? And a pin cushion. And oh, here's a spinning wheel, thimble. If you need mining equipment, there's mining equipment. If you need butcher's tools, carpenter's tools, blacksmithing tools, there's tons of stuff. Are you sure you're talking, because the books, are you talking about the abstract assets? Because abstracts are all 1024 by 1024. I'm going to look at some of our party's items and see if there's anything that I can add for a little bit of flair, okay? Layers. It is possible. You just have to sink the building below the water line before you generate it. Underwater structures are a little tricky, mostly flooded, or like, you know, is what is more possible. But if you have a water area and it goes low enough, you can sink the building down underneath it. I don't know. I have a meeting upcoming with the devs. I want to talk to them about a few things. That's one of them. Sounds, stream stuff, including like, you know, effects and overlays and a few different things. Some ideas I have for the stream. Anyway, another thing I want to talk to them about is conventions. I wouldn't say it's off the table. It's just these things take time. I basically get a meeting with the devs once a month or once every couple of months, and that's when I like to talk to them about those things. When it's more hands-on, you know what I mean? But yeah, Rev has got a great point there. If you just adjust the lighting to blue, it kind of makes the whole world feel like it's underwater. There's a great map on the workshop by Random Ladybird that showcases this. Remember, you have those abstract lights. Hey, Michael, how you doing? The abstract lights will be invisible on export, so you can add a lot of lighting effects to get more bluish blue, you know? But at the end of the day, Bremen, one thing I want to remind you of, that this is something every DM in this stream has dealt with, every GM here. I think we're all DMs for a reason. We have an attention to detail. That's one of the, I mean, there's many reasons, but that's one of them. We love lore and detail, right? And that comes through in our map making very often. And I think a lot of DMs get into this trap that it has to be perfect exactly as you imagine it or envision it in your mind's eye, which, I often say, don't let, perfection be the enemy of good. You can have a really good map that your players will enjoy. And I'm not saying you're doing this here, right? But at the same time, just remember, just because, you may not be as experienced as others at map making, or it isn't 100% what you're looking for, doesn't mean your players won't enjoy it or even notice, for that matter. Now, this map is quite old. It was made ages ago, before multi-level was incorporated, so take it with a grain of salt. But the creator got really creative with this stuff, putting in these kind of almost like dioramas that makes you feel like you're looking out into the sea, which that is the case. It's a underwater restaurant where you can go ride seahorses, was the theme. Not perfect, and a much older map, I'm going to point that out. But at the end of the day, it did kind of encapsulate that underwater vibe. This is just a simple example, though. Yeah, maybe we can make some suggestions based on what you're trying to accomplish. Honestly, this is really close to where I want it. So you use a projector, but do you use a VTT in tandem with it, or are you just projecting DA only? Gotcha. Doesn't that look really good, though? So because you're already using a projector, a digital display, you could technically pipe your maps through like a virtual tabletop system, still do all your dice rolls manually, and just have a digital map where you can add effects more easily, because virtual tabletops also have effects like rain and clouds and other things you can overlay on top of it. And I'm wondering if they have a water scenery type too, possibly, or maybe almost makes any map feel underwater. But you can add filters and lighting and other things that Dungeon Alchemist just simply doesn't have. While Dungeon Alchemist is great, its primary purpose is map making, not gameplay. So when it's used for gameplay, it's kind of outside of its use case. And you start running into, you know, walls where it's going to be a little bit harder to get things accomplished, right? Some people like to play using Dungeon Alchemist, and then they will do, you know, they'll update the map in real time. They'll move the player tokens. So while it's possible, not necessarily its primary use case. Excuse me. Yep. Probably be a little bit easier to accomplish that in Dungeon Alchemist if we were, you know, beyond our water updates, which there's 2 major updates really tied to water in the future. Right now, it's going to be workarounds. You know what I mean? Yeah, Bremen, if you're on the Discord, man, we could pop up a support or question thread and dive into it more in depth. Flail. I do think adding a virtual tabletop to the mix, though, even a free one, could accomplish a little bit more in the water effects, like Atlam's suggesting. So it might be a good idea to look into it. Honestly, this is super close to done. Next stream, I'm going to add some custom art, and then we'll save and upload it. I'm going to, you know, just put together a little description for this. Nothing too intense. Anyway, stream's about to wrap up. Does anyone have any questions or suggestions, feedback? Need any guidance before we wrap up the stream today? I think that's like a lot of the reason people want a Dungeon Alchemist VTT, because they see all the utility we have when we're not a VTT already can do a lot. You can run a lot of a game through Dungeon Alchemist, especially for a local game, right? And because it's live and animated, it looks so crisp, and you can adjust the angles and make changes on the fly. I think the end goal for a lot of people is to have kind of a DM screen version of DA that like is the play version, while the DA, you know, Mapmaker is on the other side. And so you can make changes and adjustments on the fly and add effects and things based on what's happening, you know, in combat or, you know, the environment. Well, in the virtual tabletop, it also loops. You can do animated maps that loop. That's not a problem there, but it does add an extra piece of equipment for sure. You could either loop it through the video player or through the virtual tabletop itself. Usually when they have video maps, they loop. I mean, anyway, honestly, Bremen, I hope we can help you out a little bit. Even with any of these suggestions, at the end of the day, it's kind of a tricky play there, you know? Oh my gosh. Today, or in the last 2 days, I've killed 2 reels of filament. They just were like down to the last couple grams each. So I'm out of black and white filaments. I mean, here, let's see if I can show you. Realistically, probably the only way to get a map underwater is to take, you know, whichever biome you want to use as the backdrop for underwater. Probably going to just set this as like island, so there's very little, right? And then we're going to just generate this with no vegetation. Then you would take your terrain tools, right? Just max them out. And we're going to lower the terrain as low as we can. Back in the day when the terrain tools were much slower, they used to be much weaker than they are now. And there wasn't as much control over the size and stuff. Anyway, back in the day, when people wanted to make caves before there was a cave biome or an area that was full of water, we would generate maps like and clean them out like this and then put them up on the workshop as a blank. So there's like solid stone maps up on the workshop for making caves that are like 60 by 60 or 40 by 40 or 100 by 100 because they take too long to delete all this stuff by yourself. It would take like an hour with the old tools for a 60 by 60 map. So doing this now only takes about a minute. Not too bad, but it's still time consuming. Another thing you can do to lower terrain really quick is generate a structure the entire size, right? So if it's the whole space of the map, then you lower that a little bit, right? And then generate it. It'll take a moment. But if you delete that, usually it'll leave an imprint in the ground of what you just did. Does that make sense? But I had already done this, so it's kind of pointless. Anyway, you can take and generate a structure underground. In this case, we're underwater, I mean. Probably don't want to generate it with a roof. But let's just go to like an underwater structure of any kind. This is above because I didn't lower it, right? So if you take this arrow, drop this down, the entire structure is underwater with the exception of maybe the chimney. Problem is there's just like a base level that you can go to until you sink below that, right? So you may want to actually start building underwater in this area, which can also be flooded. But see, that's right under that. Of course. Don't know. Yeah, it's time to wrap up. We're gonna wrap up the stream regardless. It's probably a good idea when the universe is throwing signs at us like this. Anyway, thank you everyone for hanging out. I'm gonna say goodbye to everyone who can still watch on the varied platforms. Very much appreciate you being here today. Stream was a blast. Thank you for participating. And honestly, our map is pretty much done. The landing page just got to do some finishing touches next week with some custom art, and then we'll be on our way. So thank you everyone for tuning in today. Again, my name is Mac, the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. We'll see you next time. I give a damn. Mac out. Bye. Oh, you can hear us for sure then, Bremen. Not everyone is. They don't have that liberty. Thank you everyone for being here. We'll see you around. I'm going to run a quick ad and we're going to end the stream. Mac out. Bye. Bye.
You stand before the long, dark road to the fabled realm of Doyak-Ta, and before—
What do we see?
I don't know, a goblin.
I kill him.
But before she does, I, Gilliam of Firth, demand to know the goblin's name.
Hi, my name is Woblin.
Where do you live there, Woblin?
I don't think that's relevant.
Well, but I, Gilliam of Firth, demand to seek the goblin's abode.
Clever. Find family. Kill entire bloodline. I like it.
Seriously, we're doing this? Okay, well, won't be needing that anymore, will I?
Ever get caught by your players with your pants down? Dungeon Alchemist lets you create wonderful maps for any encounter in seconds.
Oh, Woblin, that's a very impressive cheese collection you've got there.
Yeah, it is quite impressive, yes. But you know what's more impressive? This map I have
To the fabled realm of Goyak-Ta. Please take it and leave. Close the door behind you.
Mr. Woblin, I cannot help but notice that you have a secret tunnel underneath your cabinet. Care to explain?
Download Dungeon Alchemist, the AI-powered mapmaker, on Steam today.